So if we could just, give me a little lowdown on your team and what your proposed use case is, and I'll try and make sure I tailor everything to your group and hopefully bring up some specific examples of how Smartsheet's helped us. Hopefully how I've seen Smartsheet help people with your type of situation.
So our team develops training for the education group. So we build training not only for sales, but for customers as well. And we have a lot of training projects going on at any given point in time. So I am new to VMware. I came from NetApp, and we used various project management tools back in the days. So after coming here, and our team is 100% remote, each of us are in a different location, and I was trying to get my arms around the various projects. So I tried to create an Excel sheet just to get an idea of all the projects. And then Jen, who's on the call, suggested, why don't we use Smartsheet? And the whole team liked the idea. They rallied together. So Chris Sullivan reached out to you, and that's how we got the license. And Philip volunteered to arrange this training session with help from you. Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Yeah, Smartsheet, perfect use case, and ideal. And when you look at a couple of different ways I'm going to go about it, one is how I found it, and what it's the value initially was, and how that's ended up growing, and then I think I have some specific examples that I can show you where we're incorporating things like automation and formulas, so that stuff, it just makes things easier. And then we'll talk about maybe reporting as well, I think, which will be key for you guys, because my assumption is going to be that you talked about getting your arms around multiple projects. The assumption I'm going to make, and you tell me if I'm correct or not, is that you'll have projects A, B, and C, and Chris will have like a couple of tasks on project A and project B and project C, and Philip will as well, or something like that. Is that an accurate statement?
That's correct.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, then you're really going to like this. So, as you know, probably found it this way, Smartsheet's in your Horizon portal. If it's not showing up in there, you would go to your application catalog here and just scroll down till you find Smartsheet and hit the Activate button. I'm not sure which one you use, but it is available in both of them. If you enable it in the old portal, myvmware.horizonmanager.com, it will automatically show up in here as well. But again, you can add an application here, find Smartsheet and add it in. Let's see, we'll close this. And once you get into Smartsheet, most of you should be shared to the Smartsheet use cases. And in here, you'll find a bunch of templates that I have found useful. If there's something that you like, you can right mouse click and save as new. So it's just a little handy deal to get the ball rolling, or if you, again, find something you want to use, then definitely go for it. At a core, just management level, if you are in Smartsheet, I find that the close all tabs is really handy. So if I'm on a certain train of thought and maybe working on one or two sheets for a given group, I find it handy to be able to just kind of clean my slate. When I try and articulate the story of what Smartsheet is and how we view it, the most important thing to realize is it's just an online spreadsheet, right? Google Sheets is very handy, but the extra functionality that we gain through Smartsheet is of a tremendous value. In fact, Google is one of Smartsheet's biggest customers, so if that doesn't articulate its value over and above Google Sheets, then I don't think anything would. If you go in and you add or create a new sheet, please note that it's going to put it in your Sheets bucket, so it'll end up in here. But I highly recommend that you use the Workspaces. You notice I'm attached to a bunch of them, and Smartsheet has passed the security audit, VMware Legal, and everything for its security features. And so these Workspaces is where permissions live. All you have to do is create a new workspace, and if you like, for example, here I'm in the Americas Demand Center, you can see that I've got both groups and individuals that are attached at different levels. So I highly recommend that you have workspaces that you guys use, that you share the team to, then make sure your sheets end up in the workspace and you don't have to worry about sharing them to people. So just some basics there. All right. So how did I find Smartsheet? I was a systems engineer, and I had a daily conversations with customers about VMware's licensing, and I would share these Google Docs publicly so that I could share information, and part of the information that I shared was trying to explain the features that come in VMware licenses. And I was using Google Sheets. You know, they're collaborative. This was a template that we used back in the day. You notice we've got vSphere, vSOM, and vCloud Suite. I'm sure most of you are familiar with those products, right? And then over here we've got features that are available at the different license levels. So we've got Standard, Enterprise, Enterprise Plus, and then when you add vSOM, you're adding on the Standard edition of the Operations Management Suite, and then you've got all the Cloud Suite features. But this is a short list of all the features that are available in our per processor licensing. So I tried to do grouping like in Excel with Google Sheets, but there's no way to do that. So I did a literally Google search for online spreadsheet collapsible rows, and that got me to my very first Smartsheet, which was it gave me the ability to have the same kind of layout. So I'm articulating what the license level is, and then if you want to know the features that are available, you have these collapsible rows. And that allowed me to expand out my feature list to over 240 lines. So a lot more information still in a condensed format, so you're not scrolling through everything all the time. So just getting things organized. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward?
Right? Definitely.
Definitely, right? So didn't have a lot of use for all the real functionality that comes in Smartsheet until I moved into the marketing role. And once I moved into marketing, I started to, let's see, I think I have these under, I started using some of the functionality with our Tech Talk Live series. And in our Tech Talk Live, we would have different locations. So my primary role is to take the PowerPoints and other materials that are delivered in online events from global marketing or business units and swizzle it up and make it resonate more with the customers. So we would get feedbacks from attendees that presentation material just didn't resonate with them, so that's my job. And I would share these presentations with our systems engineers, and because I was using Smartsheet, I could attach the presentations, any changes that they made to my presentation, they could just upload it here. And you can see I was using this other feature called update request. So I would send Ken an update request, and I'll just show you an example of that here. And the neat thing about this is instead of Ken seeing all the other rows on my sheet, in this particular use case, I just wanted him to be able to update and see only that one row and not everything else that was going on. And you can see only that one row shows up here in the email, and then if I go into the actual request, only the row I'm asking him to update is being displayed. It's a very handy feature, especially if you've got sensitive data or if you're dealing with any partners or anything like that. You can have one page for everyone, and then the update request will enable you to have the ability not to expose the whole thing. A very handy feature for me when I was starting off with my new sheet here. So we've evolved quite a bit, but again, some of the basics. Yeah.
So you showed us how to restrict the update feature. Can I restrict the view permissions? Because I have this master list of projects, and every Friday I plan to send the list out, but I don't want everybody to see everything. So how do I restrict the view?
There's really only one way to do that today. Let's see, if I can, let's go to this. So that was the version 1.0. I would say that what I'm showing you here and all of the subsequent pages is version 2 or 3. It's version 3.0. So we had a task list in the fall for vForum New York and Toronto that wasn't quite this involved, but this is a dashboard that is linked to underlying sheets. So these are all smart sheets that have a list of tasks. So you can see when someone else is in the same sheet as you, I can see that Azora is in here with me as well right now. She's with our third-party agency, Nth Degree. Do you guys work with any parties outside of VMware?
Yeah, we work, we have some vendors that work on our courses, like Origin.
Okay. So I promise you I'm staying on task. I'm going to get you to that view, okay? I have a group that I've created for Nth Degree, and they are admins, so they have complete control over everything in here. There's no license required at all. It's completely free. So you can collaborate with those third-party people at any level you want, be it admin, be it editor, be it just viewer, or even using update requests. You wouldn't be adding them to a shared space, though, because people that are shared to a space can see everything in that space. But getting back to your question about the views, we've got a sheet here. So this sheet right here has a list of tasks that need to be completed, who they're assigned to. And then if I go back to my dashboard, I can go to reports. So this is a report. This isn't the exact use case you said, but I'm going to get you to those. You just want people to view a subset of stuff. So if I'm Elaine and I want to know what tasks I have due in the next 14 days, I have run a report that looks at everything in a certain bucket. So you can say one sheet or a workspace, whatever you want, and it will look across all of them. So you can see we've got tasks for the sheet Montreal, she's got open tasks in Chicago, open tasks in Kansas City, and I can go directly to those links, to those sheets from here. But I also can just make changes in here as a pure report, right? These are things that Elaine has in multiple sheets that are due in the next 14 days. And then I can pick what columns I want available, so you can set some filter for the subset of information and what columns you actually want to display, so it doesn't have to be everything. And then you can also publish this and as read-only, and people can view this report. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Reports are extremely handy, and I'm actually starting to use them more and more. And instead of having, I think reporting will definitely save you a lot of time. And again, I like using these little dashboards so that it keeps people organized and allows them to go in a circular motion, so they can see how many open tasks do we have for a given city. And then we have conditional formatting, so that as things progress, they go from red to yellow to green. And then if anything becomes at risk, which I don't think we have, no, there's nothing right now. You get the idea that it can be highlighted immediately and really be a true differentiator and keep everybody up to date immediately. Any questions popping up in your head? Because I feel like I kind of jumped into some more advanced stuff. I did cover how I found it. I am giving you an example of how we run it with programs. There's project management features in here, but let's go over some of the basics of Smartsheet itself. So at its core, just create a new sheet here. So here is my new sheet. Smartsheet has, it is just a spreadsheet at its core. So task here, and when we were talking about that nesting functionality, so if these are the two subtasks for a particular subject, the way to nest them is to either hit this button here, which is Indent, or I've gotten really used to just using my keyboard and hitting Control-K. So now I've got this header and I've got my subtasks. So one of the differentiators of Smartsheet is the ability to have column types. So contact list, if I make this owner, and it's a contact list, now when I type in who owns it, it'll pop up. Was Sullivan, right? And we're going to change this one to due and make this a date. Okay. So again, context. We know we have who is the owner, and we have when it is due. Say it's due tomorrow. So if I know that I have a task, that it is assigned to someone, and when it is due, I can set up an alert that says, save your changes. Set up a reminder for whoever is listed in the owner column so that 2 days before whatever the due date is, they get a message saying, your task is due in 2 days. And now I don't have to send reminders to everybody, and everybody can stay on top of stuff. Useful?
Yeah.
I
right?
love this feature.
This one is so handy. I'm telling you. The other one is send whoever is shared a daily, so you can have like a summary of anything that changed, or right away, anytime anything has changed or a particular thing has changed. There is an update coming where you'll be able to have conditional notifications where you can get more granular. So if you've got a drop-down list, which is status, let's say, and status is pending, in progress, on track is another one I see people use, at risk, or completed. Past due is another one I like. So this is now a drop-down list. This is the fourth one on our column types. We can say if something is at risk, we can have conditional formatting that says if status is at risk, then I want to visually see that. So I want my text to be red, and want to be bold, and you know what? Go ahead and change that background too. And you can make it go to the entire row or just a particular column. So lots of possibilities there. That type of functionality is going to be available for notifications in the very near future. I'm excited about that coming out. The last two column types are checkbox, which is not real sexy, but is very handy. And then in column 6 here, we'll have symbols. Now, symbols are fun. The thing to note about your symbols here is that when you choose certain symbols, and this is probably my most used one, there are, go and look at some of them. Maybe they'll make more sense to you. I haven't really thought of a lot of use cases for the smiley faces or the hearts, but they're in there if you like them. So I picked the red, yellow, green, gray. There's also Harvey balls, which are pretty handy. And if I choose this, red, yellow, green, gray, now when these options come down, you'll see they actually have the word next to them. And that comes in handy because you can do things like formulas. I've got all kinds of formula examples where you can put that in there. And if you change the status, like on our VForm Chicago here, if I change this from pending, watch my little green, my column over here, it'll change colors on the colored balls over here. look good? So here's our sheet. We just created it. We've got all the different column types up here. Other things you can do on a sheet are you can share it, attachments. So if I have a particular deliverable I'm trying to get out the door, and maybe I keep stuff on Google Drive or Box or Dropbox or even like Content Locker or something like that. I can go in here and add those items. So if I was using AirWatch Secure Content Locker, I would add a link. I would just paste in the ACL link and name it, and then it would add it in. And if anyone's Evernote users, really good integration with Evernote, and it's very, very handy. So I highly recommend taking a look at that because there's a ton of stuff.
Chris, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You had stated that some of these features are going to be available in the future. Like, how far in the future before that would be available?
The only one I said is coming in the future is conditional notifications. Everything I've shown you is available now because I'm in the live instance, right? So the only thing that was a future is these types of logic statements around notifications, and I haven't shown it to you because it's not available. But what's available now is send me an update or send someone an update when something changes, either one column or the whole thing, and you can do it.
Okay, terrific. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
And Chris, I have another quick question for you. You were showing the options for storing content.
Yep.
And we've used a variety of different things, including Horizon. And you mentioned AirWatch Content Locker. Is that something that's, I don't know, we're trying to avoid something that's not going to be
corporate
that's
sanction.
going to be problem. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you would recommend?
I'm with you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I've got Google Drive, I've got Box, I've got Dropbox, I've got Content Locker, and what am I missing? Oh, OneDrive. OneDrive is what I was thinking of. So, but if you want to share, so I wanted to share this, and I'm working with the Smartsheet people to make the integration more seamless so that it's just an option here. But right now, if we use AirWatch Secure Content Locker, you would do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only way to access this is if you're on our network or if this resource has been shared or whatever.
So outside
absolutely
vendors wouldn't be able to see that stuff then?
Well, the way I shared it through Content Locker, yeah, they would because that's the way I shared it. Now, I could make it password protected with Content Locker, limit the days and limit the downloads, but that's a functionality of Content Locker, not. But
if it's shared with a URL, then vendors can get to it. Okay.
Oh yeah, no matter what. Yeah, so OneDrive will be an option on this list very soon, and there's been some Microsoft thing that has kept OneDrive from being on this list, and again, I'm trying to get AirWatch Content Locker added as well.
All right. Sorry to sidetrack us. Thanks for the answer.
Not a problem. No, it's a good clarification point, right? So the reason IT chose Smartsheet is the thinking around OneDrive was that it would solve about 70 to 80% of our collaboration needs, everyday type stuff, like let me share a spreadsheet with you kind of stuff. But when you look at that other 20 to 30% of, what's filling that gap, the list of apps was absolutely tremendous. We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of apps. The project management capabilities, all the use cases that Smartsheet seems to fill, the numbers they threw out were that OneDrive is 70 to 80%, and then that last 20 to 30%, we believe that Smartsheet can fill 70 to 80% of those. Does that make sense?
Yep. Good deal.
Good deal. It's used by sales. It's used by project managers. It's pervasive. They use it to plan VMworld. Obviously, live events, the stuff that I run, we use it for just anything where multiple people have pieces, fingers in the pie. That's where its use case is, and it's just tremendous. So we talked about update request. Every sheet has, you can publish it here, so read only. If you do read only, then they don't, whoever is looking at it will not be able to open or close the little pluses. So however you have it saved is how they'll view it. So if I go in here, close this, shrink that, hit save, and refresh, all of the, this is the only way they'll be able to view it. They won't be able to open anything up. If you go to read only full, then they can open up all of the little pluses. But I can't change anything. And then edit by anyone is handy for me personally. I've used it for sign-up sheets. So what I would do is lock a certain column, hit save, publish it, edit by anyone, and when they go into, when somebody else gets in here, they want to add their name to the sign-up sheet, they just type in their name, and then whatever other data I want them to put in, and if they try and go in and change something, they can't. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward on that one. I'm going to assume yes.
Yeah.
There it is. The last one is for going through just the feature list is web forms. So if I want a prettier interface, I can create a web form on any sheet. I can go in and name this as my new sheet web form and make all these prettier or whatever I want to do. Status, instead of it being just a drop-down list, I can make it radio buttons. Hit save and preview, and now I send this link out to someone and they can add a row to my sheet. You can redirect it. There's all kinds of little options here. You can have them do a file upload too if you wanted. We'll just save that, and you'll see that when I hit refresh, oh, web form user has made changes. There we go. There's that stuff I just filled out on the web form.
That's pretty slick.
Isn't it? We use it in our live events for surveys. So these are all the surveys in our different cities. And here is the Dallas Focus Survey. These are our respondents. You can see I've used formulas so that it auto totals the average score for the keynote, for the What's New session, and here's an example of a more sharp, sharp form. Let's see here. How are we doing on time?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. And sometimes people schedule for 30 minutes and sometimes they go more. So more specific to you guys, I think that, let's see, we've got the enablement, field enablement services. Let's take a look at Lindsay's stuff. So Lindsay has her PMO tracking dashboard. This is all live, so I'm going to be very careful. They're just, see, Lindsay's in here right now. Trust me, she's in here all the time. But you can see this is an example of a dashboard where she has to keep track of a lot of moving parts. So when you look underneath this MBU EMEA training, she needs to get a score on whether or not EMEA is going to roll this out this quarter, and they rate that 1 to 5. And she can go into a given project. They're just getting these rolling out, so she hasn't rolled out an actual sub-sheet for each one of them. But when you go in here and look at what we have for her, and this is all the stuff that's going to need to get done in order for the MBU EMEA program to be rolled out. And as these are updated, so this links back to the dashboard, which shows that cell in the dashboard. So this is an example of cell linking. So I can right mouse click any cell, and I can do, or multiple cells, and do link from another cell, link from cell in another sheet. Hyperlinks, so you can add a hyperlink anywhere. And hyperlinks can go to external resources, or you can link to another sheet. And you saw me jumping around stuff in there, right? On that other dashboard. So any cell can be a hyperlink to another sheet or just a web page. Do y'all want to dive in more into any dashboards or anything like that, or would you like to maybe look at your specific use case? Or
I think dashboards might be a little advanced for where we're starting out right now. I don't know. Someone else speak up. We do a lot of dashboard stuff right now in SharePoint, so I can see this being an awesome replacement for that eventually.
yes, so my recommendation would be, do you guys have a, did we get a workspace started for you guys?
What?
I don't know.
So what I'll do for everybody on the invite, I'll do I'll deploy one of these training. You'll have a dashboard. In fact, I've been working on how to do this in a new way, but basically everybody will end up with their own version of this sheet here, and it literally walks down all of the features and how-tos, and you have you get to see all the formulas and stuff like that. You'll have complete control over it, and you can see the Harvey balls. You can see the dates. Oh, that's the other thing we didn't even talk about yet, calendaring. So you'll notice I have a Gantt calendar over here, and I can zoom in and out on this as much as I want. I think all my dates are the same. That's why it's showing up like this. But you can see here that this is 75% done, so the gray bar on that is going to, as I go back to pending, there's no gray bar within that gray Gantt bar. Once I move into in progress, it's 50%, which gets you to halfway, and 75%, and then ultimately it'll be complete. So the gray bar will go from one end to the other inside. So Gantt and then calendar. So once we know, once we hit calendar, we have the ability to see it in, again, everything on this first list is has the same dates. So the calendar view, you can see it by month, by week, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you can also share when you go back to that sharing option on the sheet itself. This is very common. A very common use case is for me to share it in the calendar view. So that's how I most commonly publish my calendars. And we have an event calendar that we use for the U.S. You notice there's nothing that can be changed in here. It's just a list of stuff and when it's happening. And the one that we have set up for the Americas events is pretty nifty. It's quite a bit in here. So this is the calendar dashboard that I created. So this is the link that is shared. I've published a few links on how to use it, just up to YouTube. And this is how you add the calendar to your mobile device. And then when you have the different views, this is of all of the events in the Americas. But if I'm a rep in New York, I don't care what's going on in LA. I only want to know about the stuff in New York. So you could go to the stuff that's only happening in the Northeast. You can flip over into the grid view. So if I'm New York, all I want to see are the items that are going on in New York, and I want to see it on a calendar. Pretty handy.
My screen's not staying caught up with yours, but I get the idea.
Okay. They're just some shared calendars. I can actually send you the links if you want to look around at them.
No, I got it. I understand.
Okay. Cool. So we go back to, do y'all feel like getting you that training sheet set up would be a nice way to get started?
Yes, I think so. Yep. Now, does that list the shortcut keys you were talking about earlier?
Shortcut keys. Oh, when you hover over the buttons on the side, it will show you the shortcut.
Okay.
So hover over it, Control K. Control M is to outdent. So if you didn't want it to be a child. And yeah, you've got bold, italics, underline, strike through, and most of them are the same as what you're used to on your regular keyboard. So Control U will underline if you have something selected. Control B will bold it. This one's really handy. So highlight changes. I like to show, so these are the changes that were made in the last hour. But since I last viewed this sheet, so if someone else came and made a change in here while I was away from this sheet, when I get back to viewing it, those will be highlighted in yellow. For me,
how did you do that, Chris?
Right here, the little highlight changes.
Okay, I see it. I see it. Yep. Great. Awesome. I love that.
It's to do the cell linking, and then you have your currencies down here. If you have anything in multiple currencies. I also like format painter. So if I wanted this cell below this to also be green and have white text, I would highlight that, click the other cell, and now it'll be green, and if I type in it, it'll have white text. And when I turn this off, you'll see that. So format painter down here at the bottom is pretty handy. And I forgot what the clear format, so that just erases all that formatting that is in a given cell. You got lots of good stuff over here. So remember, you always have save as new if you are a creator. Save as template. Oh, this one's huge. So if you get to where you guys have a standard that you want to deploy, you can see here in my cities, this is the vForum cities, and when I want to deploy this template, we started off with just a sheet, and my team, Elaine and myself, and a couple others worked with the Nth Degree team, our third-party agency, to develop a list of things that we said were the bare minimum that needed to happen for us to do vForum in a given city. We then did save as template on that particular sheet. We just went up to the top, save as template, and that gave us this template here, and now we just hit use template, and now we've got a whole new city. We put in the city name, and that populates throughout the sheet and automatically is added to all the reports and everything else because it's in the bucket that the reports are looking at. Use template. I'm going to call this delete me. And y'all remember the reports where we had Elaine and she could see the stuff that was assigned to her across all the different cities? vForum work plan, delete me, delete me, delete me. save. It's not due until 12/31, so it's not due for 153 days. And if I go back to my dashboard and I look at reports and go back to Elaine, we'll see that that one I just deployed should be, oh, that I did last 14 days. All open tasks for Elaine. Delete me is now on that list. So now I shall delete me. So I don't want that to mess with.
You're just doing what you told yourself to do.
It does what it's told.
Chris, let me ask you a question. So right now I'm about to start building a project plan for the on-demand courses, and it's like approximately around 100 tasks. So if I make that as a template, then I can use that for every single project. I just go and I choose my template, and I'd be able to start the new project.
Yeah, a little best practice around that. So you're going to have a sheet. You have to have your base starting sheet, right? And what I do is I used to do this thing where I would, like I'd have a sheet that was, you know, where I wanted changes to be made, and then I would save it as a template and then keep the other one. But what I do is if I want to make changes to the template, I use the template, then and I would make whatever changes it is, you know, change the name, whatever it is, do save as template, and delete this sheet and the old template.
Okay.
So deploy, make change, and then delete that base sheet and delete the template. So that's
Let me ask you a question, because that just raised another question in my mind. So if you made a change, let's say you changed the name of a column heading or something, will that go retroactive on the projects that are already set up, or would it only be on a go-forward basis?
Today it's go forward only. That is on the roadmap. Global templates is I think they said Q3.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Common ask, and yeah, so if you have all these open projects and all that kind of stuff, and you make a change to the template, and you want that to roll across all of them, today, you got to go back and add it to each one. Future
so it would
state,
be a manual process at this point.
it would be a manual process today, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Show agendas. Remember, it is so gotchas. So if we look at this is being shared publicly. We've got a bunch of people in here looking at it. When I made this sheet, I had a spreadsheet in front of me that I imported, and all of these used to be like linked cells. Like these cells would all be, you know, in Excel, you just go merge and center, right? There is no merging and centering in Smartsheet. You can't do that at all. So I've had some people, you know, and one guy that says a deal breaker, so he doesn't use it. But very simple use case for him. If you really, really want stuff to highlight, I suggest you use, so if these cells were related, I would color them one color, and actually Lindsay's would probably be the best example of that, so let's look at that. Field, enablement, services. In her old spreadsheets, these would all be merged cells here, and then she would have the different titles underneath, but she just colors them the same now. Make sense? Probably does. It's the best practice there. Remember, even if dashboards are a little bit more advanced, that if you have a spreadsheet, just make it a Smartsheet, and it'll make your life a lot simpler, because if it's a spreadsheet that you're sharing with others, why not, right? Even if you're not sharing it right now, maybe you'll want to eventually. Maybe you'll want people to do updates on it. Maybe you'll want to have people update it in the future. Maybe not. If you just get it in there and get used to it, it'll make your life a lot simpler. All you have to do is right mouse click, import what you get today. And if you want, if you have examples of what you've used today in Excel or Project or Google Sheets for that matter, just get it to me and I'll create a Smartsheet version of it. We got 2 minutes left.
So we're a team within curriculum development, and I see you have a workspace called curriculum development.
Yeah. This is for you guys. Okay, so I did start this.
Great.
So this is your dashboard. So I've got sheets for Benu, Philip, and Chris. And then in the report, so the dashboard has got links to, the idea here is that you would have people going through their sheets. So I'm Philip now, and I am going through this list of things that are assigned to me, and I have acknowledged that okay, here's the training dashboard video. I have watched that, and I go through these because these are all basic for me, and I start getting into the stuff down here, and we as a team can see that Philip is 13% done, and if we go to our dashboard, Philip is 13% done. And if we want to see all the tasks that have been completed by everyone, here are the tasks. Philip has been busy completing his tasks, and Chris needs to get to work, and Manu isn't even trying. Way to go. Let me make sure I shared it. Yes, so I've got this is shared to it now. And if you guys want to go in and just add the other people, you just hit sharing here and add collaborators, admin or editor, up to you, and just start listing them out. We've got CCH, ETD, there's Sheree, share, just share to share. And y'all can keep going down that list, and then if you want to add new team members, here's your template. And just use the template, add their name. Okay. And this is what I'm doing right now is what this first little video is, actually this little video right here articulates. So we would go for filter column, show everything that's Philip right now, and change it to share. You can either do copy down or Control C, scroll to the bottom, Control V, remove filter, and your share has her sheet. And when we go back to the dashboard, share is not going to be listed there. So I'll add her on by hyperlinking to another Smartsheet that has share in the name. Okay. And I want to name that a little differently. And I want to add those links just like my other ones, right? So I will go to Share's dashboard, highlight those cells, right mouse click, copy, go back to the dashboard, paste special, links to copied cells. This is what was failing on me earlier. And now Share has been added to the list. So her updates will be reflected in here as well. And when we go to the list, because share, I think in the default folder, the default template, I have one task that is completed, share now shows up. And if I go back to the dashboard, more info needed, there's one there as well, and you can see shares on that list too. Pretty sweet, huh?
Nice.
There are so many different layers to this, Chris. How long did it take you to get ramped up to be able to do this demo?
So I've got a background in training, and ASG for a while, the technical people and the systems engineers and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so I'm the guy that reads the manual, if you will, and I try and get the most out of everything, whether it's Excel. I mean, I'm an Excel junkie. Don't get me wrong. I use the heck out of Excel today. I've got a price list that I still do from back when I was in sales. The price list we get is just, it's not functional. It's not usable. And I create this this filter so that they have a nice, easy way to go, I have a customer, I'm commercial SKUs only that owns vSphere Enterprise, and I want to upgrade them to vSOM Enterprise Plus, but they only want production 1-year support. So, I mean, I'm an Excel junkie. I know how to use it, but Smartsheet just offers so much more. You know, I'm a
It is.
DBA.
It is. It's pretty incredible. I'm very impressed with it.
Cool.
I can't wait till I understand it a little better, but we'll get there.
Time is the only thing. It just, and that's why I think this dashboard will help you guys a lot, because you'll have your own thing where you can make your own notes and look at the formulas that are used on your own sheet and mess with them and mess them up and not mess them up, or whatever you want to do with it. It's yours. But I think it articulates a lot of the story.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This has been extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Appreciate you taking the time. Yes.
I'm glad to help. Good luck, and let me know if you need anything. And if you want to have a, let's just talk about your stuff specifically, we can absolutely do that. I can show you what we've been doing in other places.
There's a lot of videos, too, on YouTube I was looking at, too. So
Most of these have those links to those videos, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Chris. This has been very useful. I can see it being a very powerful tool, and I'm sorry I'll have to bother you because there's so much to learn.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Just
I look
put that right
forward to
up
being
front.
bothered. Looking forward to it. Just trying to help everybody be successful.
Thanks,
all right,
Chris.
guys. Y'all have a good day. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.